Oh, Eric. I just don't know.
Good morning.
Good morning. You've been all over this. Adam tweeted, you retweeted. I'm still sort of reeling from Maggie Haberman saying that only prosecutors, not journalists, can call something a crime. And you said in its very first Hillary email story in March 2015, the New York Times suggested in the very first paragraph that she may have broken laws. I mean, oh my God, like we all have short-term memory loss, right?
Yeah. No, I mean the criminality was the entire point of the Butter emails coverage, right? It was to paint her as untrustworthy, possibly a criminal, and we have Trump smuggling out classified documents from the White House, flushing others down the toilet, and Maggie Haberman was kind of running interference. Ashley Parker from the Washington Post was on MSNBC twice saying, well, he wasn't a traditional president. His aides were so frenzied in January of 2021. There's a push to normalize the criminality. So for Clinton, it was an absolute push, an emphasis, a desire to paint her as a criminal, and she was not. There wasn't a single classified, document that was part of those emails. No laws were broken or anything like that. Trump is the complete opposite. He's breaking laws in front of everybody, and the press is kind of tiptoeing around. Well, they made a hasty exit. Everyone was, so kind of frenzied and confused. Nobody knew what was in those 15 boxes that sat in Mar-a-Lago for a year, and then Trump's lawyers had to negotiate with the National Archives for months before they agreed to hand them over. So it's really just a stunning double standard in terms of Republican man. He's given the benefit of the doubt, and the Democratic woman is kind of nailed to the cross.
Well, hello, we give you 2016. As you said, yes, it all reeks of misogyny. I mean, I was going to say, and whatever Trump says is the opposite of the truth. Remember, the papers were given very easily and without conflict and on a very friendly basis. Okay, that's why you call the DOJ and threaten, right, subpoena from Congress and the DOJ. Clearly it wasn't. I mean, okay. Let's go. You were referring to Maggie Haberman's tweet. She said, many are awaiting Merrick Garland's view on what's against the law, which law enforcement and not reporters dictate. And you said she wrote 200 plus Hillary email stories. Raise your hand if you think the premise of each one was we have no idea if any of this was illegal. As you said, the whole premise of it is whether it was illegal, right? They parroted Trump's talking, but she shouldn't be allowed to run. She should be in jail, right? Over and over.
Yeah, I mean, the big part was whether it was illegal, and honestly, the press didn't even care if it was illegal because it just didn't look good. And if you go back even further, when the Clintons left the White House in 2001 in January, when Bush came in, they left with what the press deemed were too many gifts from friends. You remember, this was a month-long controversy. Hillary, they left with all the furniture and all this thing. There was a concession that nothing they did was wrong. They documented all the gifts, they did all the paperwork, but it didn't look good. And therefore, the press crucified them for a month. Whereas, with the Trump and the documents, the press doesn't care if it doesn't look good. Of course, it doesn't look good when you're taking top secret documents and stashing them in your basement. They're hinging everything on, well, is it criminal? We're not sure. It's up to Merrick Garland. We'll never really know. So the conflict of interest or the optics for Trump never really seems to become an issue, and the press doesn't really care. It's kind of like, we've talked about this before. It's just Trump being Trump. Well, what are you going to do?
He's just so unorthodox, Eric.
Yeah, he really is. He's just not a traditionalist.
Yeah. Speaking of Garland, by the way, you said the fact that Garland that allows this idiotic Durham investigation to continue and fails to prosecute Trump really says it all. This is this latest big game of gotcha, right? This Durham investigation. It's always, I mean, they try to make it sound like there was not an entire Mueller report detailing massive, or a bipartisan Senate report detailing the massive amount of whatever you want to call it, collusion between Trump campaign and Russia, right? They're trying to make it sound like this was...
And the Durham report, the whole investigation is a complete joke, but it comes with the title of, independent prosecutor, special counsel, whatever. So the press treats it as a real thing. His indictments are a joke. I mean, they're with these tiny bit players, and it's about whether, this Democratic lawyer Sussman, was honest about who his client was. And now this Durham thing, which you said, the right wing is going crazy. Clinton was spying on the Trump campaign. if you read the document, it's almost incomprehensible what they're trying to allege, because it's all by innuendo. They've never had any facts. So the whole, and if this was a Republican administration, that Durham investigation would not exist. People say, well, it's a special counsel, and you can't touch it and things like that. Look, Republicans create their own political reality every single day.
Yeah.
Democrats always refuse to do it.
Or, by the way, as Jim Jordan said, he concurs with Donald Trump that operatives tied to Hillary Clinton should be executed because of the John Durham thing, right? I mean, this is how over the top they are. This is the biggest, thing that's ever happened. They should all be executed. I'm like, wait, what? Yeah.
And it's absolutely crucial that they have this Durham charade going on, because it gives them a fig leaf of credibility. Like I said, he comes with the title of special prosecutor, so oh my gosh, he must be a serious person. Bill Barr, wouldn't handpick this loon to do this investigation, right? Of course he would. People have quit the investigation because they didn't think this guy was serious. And again, the indictments. But again, oh my gosh, it's an indictment. So ABC News, New York Times, oh, he handed down an indictment. It must be serious. It's not, but they're never going to say that because, they're afraid of the liberal media bias charge.
Yeah. Well, it's like your whole piece you wrote, how Trump gets away with shredding everything. You just said we just witnessed another textbook example this week of how Trump gets away with bending. Oh, wow. Someone's dog's louder than mine for a change. That's fantastic.
That was Birdie.
Oh, hi, Birdie.
Hi, Birdie.
Hi. She wants Daddy to be done now. You just said how he gets away with bending rules and out having to pay a price from the press or the Beltway establishment. You said it's maddening to watch, and it highlights just how unprepared D.C. institutions still are in terms of dealing with an unapologetic authoritarian like Trump, who through his entire adult life has always assumed the rules don't apply to him. And here we are, right? I mean, because they don't, as you said, clearly they don't.
Well, the amazing thing is Trump is the presumptive Republican nominee. He's not this retired politician who's sort of acting crazy on the sidelines. He's going to be the nominee. So, Hillary Clinton was crucified years before the 2016 campaign because she was the presumptive nominee. We have to hold her to this higher standard. She's going to, she might be the next president. Trump is the presumptive nominee. But with the document stuff and things like that, and it all revolves, that piece, and we just talked about it. Oh, it's Trump being Trump. Well, this is what he does. Everybody knows everyone knows he might be a little bit corrupt. So therefore, we're not going to pay that much attention to it. I mean, the document story, 15 boxes, top secret. Some of these documents were basically ignored on the Sunday shows. The Boehlert emails was covered for 15 months, like it was the moon landing. 6 months after that story debuted in March of 2015, in September, Washington Post was averaging 2 Hillary email stories a day for the entire month of September.
Yeah.
And this document story with Trump will be gone by Thursday. I guarantee you, it will not exist in any platform.
This is, you put it best. You said the media continues to normalize his criminality. In this case, absconding from the White House with classified documents as he readies another presidential run, shredding other documents. It's the same D.C. press corps that crucified Hillary for years simply because journalists thought her email story might have a hint of criminality to it. It never did. And you just finished by saying when the archive story progressed after it was learned that classified documents had been found within 15 boxes, the Times ran that update on page 15, not page 1, once again signaling the news that it wasn't especially important. That's how Trump gets away with shredding everything.
Yeah. I mean, and what message has he gotten since he came down the escalator in, 2015 at Trump Tower? I mean, the message he's gotten is do whatever you want. The message he's gotten is we're never really going to. He's been doing this his entire life as a real estate guy in New York City. The press never held him accountable. It was all kind of a game. He would call up reporters and pretend to be the spokesperson. They knew it. It was all this game. Oh, it's Trump being Trump. And it's the exact same thing. I mean, he would, not to give him any kind of credit, but of course he's going to just keep doing it. Why would anyone stop doing it? Why would anyone stop lying and shredding and protocols and traditions if nobody in the Beltway, the press or the other institutions inside the Beltway, are ever going to stand up and say enough is enough?